now the big thing that trees are being looked to do is for second generation so-called cellulosic biofuels, or agrofuels as they're more accurately called, because they're just not sustainable. So what they want to do with that is grow, again, these modified trees, and in this case the trees are being specifically modified to make better biofuels. So that means they have two specific traits. One is reduced lignin. Lignin is the substance in a tree that makes it disease resistant, naturally disease resistant, and naturally insect resistant, and protects it from wind and all of these things. It's the thing that makes a tree strong, but it's the thing that they have to take out to either make paper or make biofuels. So what they're trying to do is reduce the lignin in these trees so they can get to the cellulose, which is the sugar in the tree, more easily. And that is going to be a huge problem by itself, because if the low lignin gene gets into a native forest, all of a sudden you have very weak trees that fall over and die in the first windstorm. The other thing they want to do with these trees is engineer them so they actually contain enzymes so the trees start to digest themselves prior to being cut, so that when they make the ethanol, the process is very quick and very simple. Beyond ethanol, however, ethanol is what they're looking at right now, cellulosic ethanol from trees, but they're even looking beyond that, trying to figure out how they can genetically engineer entirely synthetic organisms to create the enzymes to turn trees directly into gasoline, essentially. So they're going way beyond ethanol, all the way to gasoline, to jet fuel, to all of these very high-tech fuels they think they can do through creating completely synthetic organisms. So that's what they're working on now. But the next thing that they've got in line for trees beyond even fuel is using trees to manufacture plastic, to manufacture chemicals, basically to replace petroleum in any way that petroleum is used. They want to use trees. And what we're doing with my organization, Global Justice Ecology Project, is working with the ETC group in Canada to analyze what does this actually mean? How many trees are we talking about to replace petroleum? And the preliminary results that we found is that we need about 5 or 6 planets worth of trees to be able to do this. So what they're in essence doing is creating a huge new demand for trees, which is going to translate into huge increases in illegal logging, in legal logging, in the conversion of native forests to monoculture tree plantations and genetically engineered tree plantations. And this is going to be all over the world. Right here in the United States, the southeast United States has about 1 in 5 forested acres in pine plantations, monoculture pine plantations, loblolly pine. And they're starting to redirect that now into the production of cellulosic ethanol, especially in Georgia. Those timber plantations are the world's largest supplier of paper pulp. Brazil is a very close second. And so if we start to redirect all those wood chips into ethanol and out of paper, this means that there's going to be an enormous deficit in the world market for paper pulp, and that is going to be made up through the logging of native forests and through the conversion of native forests into monoculture timber plantations. More eucalyptus, more pine in places where they don't belong. And so this is a serious problem, especially for indigenous communities, which are already on the front lines of these monoculture timber plantations. And as they expand, they're going to be expanding into more indigenous territories in Brazil, in Chile, in Argentina, in Paraguay, throughout Latin America, throughout Africa, and also in Southeast Asia. So this is an enormous threat, and one that needs to be taken very seriously. It's not just about GE trees, it's about agrofuels, it's about pulp and paper, it's about logging, and it's really about indigenous sovereignty over their own territories, in essence.